afternoon, Chef Rich. How are you today?
I'm good, Noreen. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
I'm so happy to have you here today. Today, I have a special guest, Chef Richard LaMarita. And this is Noreen at the Healthy Peaceful Podcast, welcoming both our viewers and listeners. I'd like to just take a moment and read a little bit about Rich and his bio. Currently, he's a chef instructor of the Health Supportive Program at the Institute of Culinary Education, as well as doing many other things, which you will tell us about. He's had a very diverse culinary career. He was a chef instructor at the Natural Gourmet for 25 years in New York City. He has several specialties, including vegetarian, vegan, Indian, and Italian. He's a graduate of ICE, and he's worked with numerous chefs in New York, including Floyd Cardoz, Dan Kluger, and Ben Pollinger. He's also worked very much as a private chef in Manhattan and areas in New York. He's been a practitioner and a teacher of Ayurveda for 35 years. He studied with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he's led seminars on Ayurvedic diet, cooking, yoga, and meditation in the US, Europe, and Asia. Wonderful. And your specialties at ICE currently, Rich, are Ayurvedic, Asian, and vegan cuisine. Well, did I
Right.
miss anything?
No, you covered it all. I'm basically teaching, yes, in the Health Supportive Culinary Arts program at ICE, which covers a lot of vegan, vegetarian cuisine, some ethnic cuisine, and of course Ayurvedic cuisine as well. We do a 1 day Ayurveda. We do actually a 2 day Ayurveda class as part of the curriculum now.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be extended now that you're at ICE. Anyway, today's going to be a really fun program. We're going to focus on Ayurveda, continuing my series on Ayurveda, and in particular the six tastes and the importance of the six tastes in Ayurvedic cuisine. Um, so let's start there. Um, what? Tell me about the six tastes, why they're important, and what is a well balanced Ayurvedic meal?
Okay, great question right from the start. It's a kind of an introduction to Ayurvedic diet. Um, I'm gonna make one step back if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Um, there's one thing that the one thing that Ayurveda believes is, of course, that food is medicine.
Mm.
Uh, Food and medicine are connected. Food and healing and health are absolutely connected. When you talk about Ayurvedic diet, um, many people immediately jump right into food because it's such a vast topic. There's just so much knowledge, so much information just in that alone that you could spend a lifetime in that. But when you talk about an Ayurvedic diet, you have to look at three interconnected things. It's like kind of like points on a triangle. And the first point of that triangle, when we talk about an Ayurvedic diet, is food, understanding food. That's what we're going to spend the entire time today on.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe you could have me on another show sometime in the future where we could talk about some of the other aspects and some of these other elements. The other point of that triangle is our digestion and the strength and power of our digestion. In Ayurveda, the
Hmm.
Agnis.
Hmm.
Because you can have the best food in the world, but if your digestion is weak, then you're not going to be able to process that food into intelligence and
Mm.
energy, which is what the body
Hmm.
does. So our digestion is as important as the food itself. The
Hmm.
third point of that triangle is how we eat, what we call
Mm.
mindful eating today. Because again, you can take the best food in the world and even a good digestion and mess up on how we eat. For instance, eat two meals on top of each other 1 hour apart, let's say, where the first meal is just starting to get digested, but then you're adding more food on top of partially digested food. It's not going to work. Or if you drink a ton of water cold water during your meal, which happens a lot when you're in restaurants. You ever notice the way they just keep on pouring water into your ice water into your water glass, and you start down in
Right,
this
right,
water? That's cold. Cold puts out the fire.
right.
Cold doesn't support fire in your gut. And if you drink too much water or any liquid, then you're diluting the digestive juices. So that's not good either. So these are the three kind of points of the triangle, what we're talking about in terms of Ayurvedic diet. All three have to come into play. We're not going to have time today to talk about digestion or talk about how we eat. So, so in terms of food, understanding food itself, it's such a vast topic. Let's see how much we can get through. Um, the bottom line of a well balanced Ayurvedic meal, kind of like a really strong starting point in understanding food and in Ayurveda, is that there are six tastes.
Mm.
Ayurveda identifies six tastes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very important to get all these tastes every day.
Mm.
Ideally, every meal,
Mm.
if possible,
Mm-hmm.
and even it's possible to get it in one dish. This is what chefs do when they say they're building flavor into a dish. They're putting taste upon taste upon taste into a cohesive whole. Um,
Sure.
so the six tastes are, and each of these tastes is doing something very specific in terms of its
Mm.
energy, its effect on the body, and this is why it's very important that we do have all of these tastes.
Sure.
So the six tastes are sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent.
Mm-hmm.
And very important to get all of these tastes. So let's just jump right in. Um, so in terms
Well,
of the
actually,
tastes,
Rich, I just want to
give me one second. Okay.
I want to back up just a moment.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
useful
Yeah.
because what you're indicating is food is a big component of Ayurveda. And however, Ayurveda, you describe the triangle, and digestion in some ways is at the center of that triangle. The Agni, the digestive fire. And we can enhance our digestion by how we eat, or we can do things that are detrimental to our digestion by how we eat. So it's important, unlike a Western
Correct.
perspective where we're counting calories and we're thinking about nutrients, we're really looking at a spectrum here with Ayurveda in terms of how we can really, feel. Really, it's really to be at our optimum health wise. So this is really a beautiful approach to look at it this way. Thank you. So the six tastes, you also
Hmm.
mentioned that
Hmm.
these tastes are doing specific things in the body. Not only is Ayurvedic cuisine delicious, but there is a science to it in terms of the effect of these tastes on the body. Maybe you could speak to that in terms of, what the sweet taste does, and we should
Hmm.
probably touch on the doshas and the impact of the tastes on the doshas, what the doshas are, why they're important.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely. So 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 we start with the six tastes. Okay. Um, we're going to assume that your listeners have some basic understanding of Ayurveda
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Sure.
I like to break it down. I like to understand the tastes, and a way to kind of really understand it clearly is to understand the elements that are associated with that taste. Because once you understand the elements that are associated with the taste, then it's easy to understand its effect on the dosha. Okay. So let's review very, very quickly for your listeners, um, the doshas, just to understand that there are three doshas, Vata, and Vata is composed of space and air. Pitta
Mm-hmm.
is composed of fire and water, and Kapha is composed
Mm.
of water and earth. mostly water and earth. Water and earth are going to be in sweet taste. Its main effect on the body is building up bodily tissue. It's regenerative. Um, it promotes the growth and the strength of bodily tissue. We're talking about grains, we're talking about sweeteners, we're talking about fruit, talking about dairy, we're talking about oils, nuts, seeds, and also in Ayurveda, even animal protein is counted
Mm-hmm.
as the sweet taste. Okay.
We're looking at the sweet taste as being building to the body and
Yeah,
to the
this is
tissues.
yes, that's its main function. It builds up bodily tissue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you're taking in a lot of water and earth in sweet taste, that means water and earth is going to increase in your body. What are the doshas that have water and earth? Obviously, kapha.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main that's the main dosha that has water and earth. Kapha
Mm-hmm.
is water and earth. So when you
Sure.
take sweet taste, it's going to increase kapha and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to decrease pitta and vata
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
vata has they don't have those elements. So you balance. You need those elements. So it tends to
Sure.
balance and bring down pitta and vata.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sweet. Now sour is fire and earth. The main elements in sour foods are fire and earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're talking here about mainly fermented foods.
Mm.
All foods that are fermented are considered sour and they have fire and earth elements in them. We're also talking about citrus that have the citric acid. So lemons, limes, uh, even a little bit of orange, pineapple, those type of foods. Um, the main effect of sour is to strengthen digestion. Sour strengthens digestion. The fire and the earth helps to strengthen digestion because these foods are mainly fermented. So you're basically putting probiotics into your body, which is very good for digestion. And then
Sure.
the acids from the citric foods also interact with the digestive juices.
So
Okay.
would you say if you have weak
Yeah.
Agni, would you say if you have weak Agni that the sour foods are helpful?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because you're bringing in some fire.
Mm, okay.
Yes, because there's fire in pitta, there's
Mm,
fire in sour, so it's going to increase pitta.
okay.
Okay,
Right.
so sour is going to increase pitta, and it's going to increase kapha, and it's going to decrease vata.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
next would be salty. Okay, salty is fire and water. The elements of fire and water are in salty. What we're talking about here is salt. Okay,
Mm,
NaCl
mm-hmm.
that we season our food with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can also get salt in sea vegetables. It's a good source
Sure.
of salt. And then certain foods like capers and olives and things like that are have salt. Salt
Sure.
balances and regulates our bodily fluids. Salt absorbs water.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So salt is an essential macronutrient for the body. It's
Mm,
very important for our bodily fluids, for maintaining the correct balance of bodily fluids. It's important for muscle contraction. It's important for heart contraction.
mm,
So again, if you are taking in a lot of salt, you're increasing fire. Fire is pitta, so you're increasing pitta. You're taking in a lot of water. Water is kapha, so you're increasing kapha. But there's no space and air in salt, so so you're you're decreasing uh, vata.
sure.
Okay,
Sure. Yeah.
we're going through these.
Mm-hmm.
Next is pungent. Pungent. Pungent is air and fire.
Mm,
Okay, air and fire. We're talking here about spices, herbs. All spices and herbs in Ayurveda are considered pungent. This
mm.
might be a little bit hard to understand for certain people
Yeah,
because when we think
I
of
wasn't aware of
spices, we
that.
think of heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but heat is one element of spice, one element of pungent,
Sure.
but not completely. Pungent
Yes.
also would be mint and fennel and basil.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be heat.
Yes.
You could get heat in ginger and chilies and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
all spices and herbs are considered pungent.
Okay.
Uh, Pungent is air and fire. Its main effect on the body is to increase metabolism and to strengthen digestion.
Okay.
So that's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
With air and fire, pungent contains air and fire. What's going to happen? Vata is going to increase. You're increasing air. That's vata. And fire, you're increasing pitta. So for pungent, it would increase pitta and vata, but it would decrease kapha. What does that mean exactly? It would decrease kapha.
Okay.
Let's say you're feeling, let's say you're symptoms of kapha imbalance during the day. Um, gaining weight, feeling lazy. That means too much water and earth in the body. But when you bring in pungent, which is air and fire, you're you're balancing yourself. You're
Mm-hmm.
balancing yourself, and
Sure.
and
Sure.
yeah, and decreasing the water and earth element.
Right.
Two more tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Bitter. Bitter is space and air. Space and air in bitter foods. Bitter would be leafy greens,
Mm.
mainly leafy greens. Also, kind of bitter vegetables like cabbages and artichokes, Brussels sprouts. They would also be considered astringent bitter, but they have a bitter note to them. But bitter is mainly leafy greens, all leafy greens. Main effect of bitter taste is it's an anti-inflammatory. It's a natural anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
These are, that says eat your greens. When you eat your greens, really good for inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Space and air are in bitter foods. So that's vata. That's pure vata. Vata is space and air. When you eat a lot of bitter greens, you increase your vata, but you would decrease your pitta and kapha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Okay.
then last taste is astringent. Astringent is air and earth. Air and earth. Okay. Um, Foods that are considered astringent would be legumes, any kind of legume, bean, pea, legume. Um, all vegetables, believe it or not, in Ayurveda are considered astringent.
Mm.
Okay, particularly in their raw state. When you cook them, they change. They can change. They add on other flavors. Like when you take a tomato, for instance, or a zucchini, let's say, which is considered astringent, and then you roast it, then it takes on some sweetness. Okay,
Sure. Sure.
foods can do that. Foods can
Yeah.
change
They
and
they can
add.
be they can be different in their
So,
raw form.
but mainly
They can be different in their raw versus cooked form in terms of the
compared, right,
properties.
right,
Right. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So astringent is again made legumes, vegetables, and also foods with tannin, foods that make you pucker. An apple, where you eat a bite into an apple and it kind of dries up your mouth sometimes, or a pear, something like that. The main effect of astringent is maintenance. It's firming, it's healing of wounds and sores. It helps with accumulation or absorption of toxins and fats, and just for the body to help maintain a strong, good structure. So you could see that each of these tastes do something very valuable to the body. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to get a good balance of these tastes every single day.
Sure. Sure. I
That's kind of the
no
bottom
that
line in
that's
Ayurveda.
that's great. I want to in relation to the six tastes in Ayurveda also each taste has an energetic effect on the body in terms of whether it could be cooling or heating to the body. I think that's
Exactly.
called the virya of the taste.
Ex-
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and the other thing that in terms of Ayurveda is each taste. So I want you to speak to that a little bit, but first there's a follow up question to that. Each taste also has what's called in Ayurveda a vipak, and that's essentially it has an impact
Mhm.
essentially on the tissues and in the body. So could you tell us a little bit about why both the
Yeah,
virya and vipak are important and how they interrelate to each other, if at all?
yeah, yeah. Let's give you the whole vision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you talk about the food, you're really talking about seven aspects to the food. Okay. Um, it's called dravya, rasa, guna, vipak, virya, prabhav, karma. These are the seven aspects of food. Okay.
Mm.
So dravya is the food itself, the substance. Okay. In other words,
Mm.
an apple. Okay. Rasa is the taste of the food. Is it sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, astringent? Okay. We can break that down a little bit when we can understand certain things. Um, because remember, when you think of the taste, you're really thinking of the elements, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So a flower, for instance, on a plant is usually very light. It's on the tip of the plant, being right there in the air. So that's going to be a very light, very full of space and air. Whereas the
Yeah,
root, the root
that's
is going to be in the earth, heavy. So
mm-hmm.
it's going to be a lot of kapha. Okay, so the next is the guna. The guna is the guna is the qualities of the food. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it heavy? That's based on the elements. Okay. The
Sure.
virya is its energy. What is its energy going to be like? But the energy mainly in virya is two things. Is it warming or is it cooling? Is it
Mm.
heating or is it cooling, basically?
Mm.
Does this
Mm-hmm.
warm up the body or cool the body? That's the energy, the virya of it. The
Sure.
vipak is its post digestive effect. Okay, post
Mm-hmm.
digestive effect. There are three aspects to vipak. One is a sweet vipak, sour, and pungent. A
Mm.
sweet vipak means it builds or strengthens the body.
Mm-hmm.
A sour vipak means it's affecting digestion, and a pungent vipak means it's lightening and purifying.
Okay.
So that's
So
vipak.
yeah, that's important, I think, because certain foods are going to build and augment the body.
Right.
Certain foods will purify the body or detoxify the body.
Yeah.
And what was the other one you said? It would. I don't know what the third. I can't recall what you said the third one was.
I said dravya, rasa, guna. Guna?
Right, but with regard
Guna?
to the vipak, we have a building.
Vipak. Okay.
Yeah,
So sweet, sour, pungent. Building and strengthening is sweet.
sure.
Sour is digestion, improving digestion.
Digestion
And
is the
pungent
second.
means lightening, purifying.
Yes, yes. So with VPOC,
Yeah.
are there really
Yeah.
the three effects that are possible from the taste? There's the building, there's the purifying, and there's improving digestion or easy to digest.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
It not so much easy to digest, but that it improves digestion. The
it
food
improves
that
digestion.
it's strengthening digestion.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
Um,
for instance, Vipak, yeah,
yes.
I was going to say that
No, go ahead.
Vipak, sweet sweet foods.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet foods basically are going to have a sweet Vipak. Okay, they're
Sure.
building and strengthening. Sour
Yeah.
foods are going to have a sour Vipak, good for
Right.
digestion. A
Okay.
salty food has sweet Vipak,
Yes.
so it's also building and strengthening.
Okay. All right.
Body's
Beautiful.
absorbing liquid, okay, absorbing
Yeah.
water. And then pungent, bitter, and astringent all have pungent Vipak.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we've
All. But don't
this
think that they're not pungent taste,
sure. It's the pungent VPOC would be
but pungent Vipak,
yeah, that and that's going to have
purifying.
a purifying or a detoxifying effect on the body. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay. So this is I'm new to Ayurveda. And I mean,
Fine. That's great.
I'm speaking hypothetically. A person comes and they're new to Ayurveda, and this sounds complicated. So I want to start cooking. Yeah. Americans, we like things, just, well, we tend to complicate things, but initially we want things to be simple. So thinking about how a person just, intrigued with Ayurveda and wanting to explore it further in terms of the food. We know that there's various aspects to Ayurveda. Food is one component. There's lifestyle, and it's a vast area of knowledge, wisdom, science. Um, but I want to get started with Ayurveda. I want to start cooking Ayurvedically. I know about the six taste. I'm a little overwhelmed by the rasa, the virya, vipak. Where do I start with this? I
Mhm.
want to make a simple Ayurvedic meal that is balancing, that I feel fully nourished, and that it's a delight, that I'm going to be mindful about the way that I, participate with the food and with the meal. And I know today you have something that maybe we should think about going into the kitchen, and unless there's, or before we do that, how would you respond to that question? You have a student who comes to see you,
Already.
and yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, it's a good question. You certainly don't want Ayurveda to overwhelm you.
That's for
Um,
sure.
and one of the beautiful things about Ayurveda is that it really does not, yeah, it really does not once you get a bit of a handle. Okay.
Mm,
It's very deep, but at the same time, there are things to grab right away. The first thing I would say is don't worry about all these seven aspects of food that we talked about. Think about just right now what the food is and its taste. Um, what we went over at the beginning. Sweet taste is grains, sweets, fruits, nuts, oils, animal protein. So it is good to kind of know what what foods are in what taste category, and that's not a very difficult thing to grasp. Okay, I mean you could be
So
some even with
as a newbie to Ayurveda, that would be something that you would suggest to someone that just initially get a grasp on the six tastes. And sometimes
yeah
we're confused as to, we don't really know that something is pungent or something is bitter. So we may think we do, or astringent. That seems to be
yeah
difficult to grasp. So get it.
yeah
Maybe look at some things like grains. A lot of people wouldn't associate sweet with grains. So just getting a handle on that is important
right
at the
right
beginning.
yeah because
Okay.
sweet yes it is. Yes, because when we're talking about sweet, for instance, you're not talking about sugar. We're not talking about dessert. There are many foods that fall in the sweet category. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's I mean, in terms of working with Ayurveda and cooking an Ayurvedic diet, and when you're learning about it, you do need to do a little bit of study. So study just the basics. Sweet taste includes these categories of food. Sour taste is fermented foods and citric. Salty is salt, but you could also get salt in capers and olives and sea vegetables. That's not very hard to grasp, and it's not even asking for the student to do a huge amount in terms of understanding. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing I would say is get a grasp of that. And then when you create a meal when you create a meal, make sure that all six are there. Even I mean even make sure you get all six every day,
Mm-hmm.
but every meal would be nice too. It's not that difficult to
Sure.
get all six tastes. And then I think the next step, once you kind of get into Ayurveda a little bit, is understanding how it all relates to your dosha
Mm.
and what's balance, and what's your imbalance. That's not
Sure.
very difficult either, but that's a whole different discussion, you know,
Yeah, I know
of
that's a good
certain signs of imbalance in the body.
Sure, that might be, maybe that's a starting point, is getting because it's not a one size fits all strategy. So getting a sense for what your constitution is,
Absolutely,
what your
absolutely.
what your dosha is, and a general idea of the foods that help balance your dosha, in according to the season that you're, and your climate and all of the
Right.
factors, your environment essentially. So,
Just remember, Ayurveda works on balance. So if you have too much air in the body, and that's gonna be expressed in certain ways, then you don't want to
mm-hmm,
put a lot of food in that has a lot of air.
mm-hmm.
You want to bring in food that has more water and earth. So you want to go back and see what tastes contain water and earth. Sweet,
Sure,
sour, salty,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, no,
Now
that's a very good point.
you're not going to avoid the other tastes, but you're just going to reduce them and increase the others.
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, I have a simple Ayurvedic meal that you're going to
Yeah,
show us how someone can easily prepare. Um, so tell us a little bit about that.
that's not bad view, right?
That's great. That's perfect.
That you have a view of the stove, correct?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, so here's just an example. Okay,
So
here's an example.
okay, so
Um,
now we're in the kitchen. We're
yeah,
moving
we're
into
in the
the
kitchen.
kitchen. All right,
Yeah,
cool, cool. So you're going to tell me about
yeah.
what you're going
Okay,
to prepare today, Rich.
okay. So I'm going to make a digestive mung dal khichdi with Swiss chard and cauliflower. Okay.
And
So
does this
khichdi
incorporate the six
is
tastes?
yes, that's what I'm going to show. Yep,
Okay.
yep. I'm going to show you all the six tastes in one dish
Yeah, cool.
in a fairly simple way. Um, so khichdi is a really nice kind of a stew. It's very easy to digest, um, and it contains a legume and a grain. And the legume we're going to use is mung dal, which is the yellow dal, and the grain, which is white basmati rice, which is mixed here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I wash this. All right,
Okay.
you have the
Yep.
recipe. You can
I do.
post the recipe or send it out to your listener.
No, I certainly will.
Yeah. So it's more dal than rice. Washed it out. I gave it a bath. Gave it a bath, a nice bath. Actually, I gave it like 5 or 6 baths and poured out the water until the water runs clear. Okay. I'm going to add it into a pot. So first of all, when you have a legume and a grain, it's a complete protein, right? So this is a complete protein, this dish. Then I'm going to add some water to this. I'm going to add about 6 cups of water. A little bit more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Now let's talk about it here. Believe it
Yeah.
or not, so far we have 3 tastes out of the
Mm-hmm.
6.
Okay,
I added
great.
salt. We have the legume, which is astringent, and the rice, which is sweet. Okay, but we're going to do a little bit more. Okay, going to add a little bit of turmeric into the water. Turmeric, anti-inflammatory, pungent. It's pungent. I'm gonna up the mineral content in this dish and also add another element of salt with some kombu, sea vegetable. A little piece of kombu. Kombu is a sea vegetable. Put that in. I'll take that out later. Okay? Then I'm going to add some ginger, sliced ginger, with some ground coriander. Okay?
Yeah.
So there are more spices here. More spices. Okay? We could talk about some of the medicinal benefits here, what's going on. So we're just going to start this, get this going. Okay? So far now, we have 4 tastes already. We have the rice is sweet. We put salt in. The legume is astringent. And all the ginger and all the spices are pungent. So we have 4 tastes already going. All right. Again, from a health standpoint, kombu is full of minerals. Coriander is a very strong digestive, really strengthens digestion. It's also cooling to the body. Ginger has many digestive benefits, from ancient texts to modern day scientific research showing ginger is for digestion. And then, well, that's what we have. And then turmeric, of course. And turmeric is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. So that's the start of this. Okay. So I'm going to just get this cooking. Okay. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to turn on the fan. So we're just going to get this cooking. It's going to cook about 15, 20 minutes. So I'd say 20 minutes, and it's going to start breaking down a little bit. Okay. While it's breaking down, I'm going to take, actually, I don't need that. I'm going to do a small frying pan. Okay. I'm going to take a frying pan. All right. And turn on the fire. Going to cook with a little bit of ghee. Ghee is clarified for digestion, for pitta in Ayurveda. All right. And I'm going to toast some cumin and fennel seed. Ghee. So right now, I'm making flavor. I'm going to add kitchery. Okay. Already is I've roasted the cauliflower. Salt for a little bit. I am going to toast the spices, the fennel and the cumin, in the ghee. In the ghee. Then, once the spices are toasted, they give a nice strong aroma. I'm going to add ginger and chili, whole chili, and some ginger. That's going in. A little bit of asafoetida. This is called asafoetida. It's an Indian spice, heavily in garlic flavor. It's a little sprinkle. Okay. I'm going to put a little more ghee. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of canola oil here for a little fat. Look what I added. I added the Swiss chard
Oh, great. You added the Swiss chard to the
to the
ghee and to
spice
the
mixture.
spices. That's
Yeah.
great. That's
So what
great.
did I add here? Here's the bitter element right here.
The bitter. Okay.
Okay.
And
Here's the
are all leafy greens bitter?
yeah, yeah.
Sure. Okay. That's great.
Okay. This is going to cook for a little bit longer. The dal and the rice are going to cook for a little bit longer. The spices and the Swiss chard is going to go in. Going to
Mm-hmm.
go into the dal. Okay.
And you put that in at the end, right?
Right.
Is
Well,
there
towards the
is
end. Towards the
towards the
end.
end?
Towards
Okay.
towards the end. Towards
And
the end.
is there a reason why it goes in at the end versus I
Well,
mean
I
I
don't
know
want to
that's
overcook it. I don't want to
sure.
overcook it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Um, I have some fresh curry leaves.
Oh, they're delicious. They're delicious.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just going to add the fresh curry actually into here.
Okay.
All right.
Usually would you cook those separately and let them pop a little bit?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Separate or mixed in, they're delicious.
All right.
Okay. So this is done. This part is done. Okay. Um, the cauliflower is going to go in. So I'll just add that to here because that's going to go in towards the end. Okay.
And you roasted that in the oven beforehand, right?
Exactly. Roasted that in the oven.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
And
there
then
any particular reason why you decided to roast the cauliflower?
I just like the flavor of that. You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
also
sure.
blanch if you could blanch if you want.
Sure, sure.
You could blanch if you want. At the end,
I like the idea of adding the roasted cauliflower to the
well, what does that
khichdi.
add? Let me
Um,
ask you a question. What flavor is the cauliflower adding? What is the
uh,
one flavor we're missing so far?
well, let's see. We have sweet, sour,
Oh no, we got
salty.
it actually. We have it.
We already have the flavor?
It's adding additional astringent.
It is. Okay. All right. Astringent. Yeah.
The legumes are astringent, but we're adding
Sure.
additional astringent.
Okay. And is that a property of cauliflower or because I would think when the vegetables roast, they become sweeter.
Yeah, but but it doesn't lose the astringency when you roast it. It
Okay.
just takes on a little bit more sweetness.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't change. It doesn't lose the other one.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just to go over it,
Yeah.
sweet, sweet. We have rice.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get finished with some roasted pistachio.
Sure.
Okay. So sweet is rice and pistachio.
Yes.
Sour, sour is going to be
Well, sour,
a
you
little bit
had
of tamarind paste.
oh, tamarind. Okay, beautiful, beautiful.
That's going
Yeah.
to be like a little finishing agent,
Yeah.
like squeezing lemon.
Sure,
It's going to be,
sure.
we're going to put tamarind instead.
Okay.
Okay. Salty is going to be the salt, and we put the kombu.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Right, you use
Pungent,
the
pungent, lots of pungent. Turmeric,
all the
coriander,
spices,
ginger,
right?
fennel, cumin, chili, right? Cilantro,
So all the spices
asafoetida,
are
a lot
pungent.
of spices. But
Sure,
yet this
okay.
is not going to be hot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
not going
not
to be. It's not going to be. Like a hot dish.
because it's a
You
small
know
amount of spice and a lot of liquid.
what's that?
It's a small amount of spice and a lot of liquid.
But the spices aren't very heating.
Right, right. So it's going to dilute the
Yeah. The
that
only
effect of
one
the
that is
spices.
heating, I mean, ginger a little bit and
Sure.
chili peppers.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay,
Turmeric
okay.
a little bit, but we're not talking about a lot of chili here.
Sure.
The
I have
bitter is Swiss. The bitter is Swiss chard, and the astringent is cauliflower and the
beautiful.
mung bean.
Beautiful. I have a couple of questions about the recipe and
Yeah.
about the preparation of the dish.
Oh, also, it's going
Um,
to get cilantro at the end, right
yes,
here.
the fresh herb at the end, and that will be very
Yeah.
cooling. And what would
The
the pro
cilantro is cooling.
right? And is that what taste is cilantro? That would be
Cilantro is a herb. It's an herb. Spices and herb are pungent.
Always pungent, even herbs.
Pungent,
Okay, fresh herbs.
pungent.
Um, I know
Cilantro is
in
good for the kidneys.
Wonderful. I know in this recipe you used 6 cups of water. And what is the ratio typically in a khichdi between the
Uh,
rice and the dal and the water?
okay, so I believe it's in the recipe, but
Yeah,
it's one part dal
sure.
to either 1/4 or a half part grain.
I see.
So it's 1 cup of dal to a quarter
Sure.
cup of rice, just a
Okay.
quarter cup,
So
because it
more,
expands. It
I see. So
expands.
so more legume than rice.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then the water is
Sure.
about, you could go 5 to 6 times the amount.
Sure. Okay. And I know in this particular recipe you used a split mung bean, which is yellow. It's not the green whole mung bean.
Say again?
You used a split mung bean, which is yellow. It's not the whole mung bean, the green whole mung bean.
I read
Um,
the dal. Yes, the dal,
sure.
mung bean, the mung bean dal, mung dal. Yeah,
So is the dal, when you're making a dal, are you always using a split bean?
most of the time. Most of the time. Most
Okay.
of the time. Yeah, this is
And
not the whole mung bean.
sure. And
Definitely
mung
not the whole mung.
and the split mung is probably the one that's most commonly used, correct? Or you can
Yeah,
use others, but it's okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
cool. And let's see what else if I have any other questions here.
So it's, believe
You
it or not, it's almost done. I mean, this
Yeah,
is, you see
it's
how
so fast.
thick this,
Yeah,
see
it's
how thick it's
beautiful.
getting?
Beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
getting
It's
thick. I
beautiful.
want it to be a little thicker.
It's a beautiful color too.
Yep,
You
yep. So
also
all this is going at the end.
you put some spices in the dal as it's cooking, and then others
Yeah,
you uh toasted in the ghee. And is there a reason why some are going in the dal versus being toasted in the ghee?
because I just
Like
want to get a little flavor into
a
the
little
water
flavor.
that I'm cooking,
Okay.
into
Sure.
the water.
Okay.
And then it's going
Thanks.
to really get into the rice and the dal.
Yeah. Cool.
And then I'm going to eat it with a really nice fennel paratha, which I made. It would take too
Mm-hmm.
much time to do,
Sure.
but I sent the recipe to
I
you.
do have the recipe. How is that different from a chapati?
Uh, you roll it out,
Right.
then you fold it and roll it
Okay.
again.
I see.
So it makes kind of flakiness.
I see. So it's more flaky and less dense than it's lighter than a
Yeah,
chapati.
a little bit, a little bit. Well, I don't know so much about lighter because then you cook it in fat. You cook it in ghee.
Right, right. You're
So
frying
it's,
it, so light is not the operative word.
yeah, yeah. But it's definitely lighter in terms of flakiness.
Sure. And how about the fennel? Is there a reason why you're incorporating the fennel in the parathi?
Oh, it's just a great flavor. It's kind of a
Sure.
classic. Kind of a
Yeah.
classic. Fennel is great. Fennel cleanses the lymph system.
Mm-hmm.
Fennel is a digestive. Fennel is a digestive. Fennel calms pitta down,
Sure.
alleviates pitta, helps with
Yeah.
gas,
Yeah.
helps really, really good digestive spice.
So we're really talking about the fennel seeds here,
Yes,
right? What
yes.
about fresh
Oh yeah,
fennel?
not
Fennel.
not
Are the properties of fresh fennel different?
the actual vegetable.
Yeah.
I think a little bit, but
They
not
have to
too
be
much.
slightly different. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
but
Beautiful.
not too much. Not too much actually.
Okay.
Um, so you
I
see how
think
thick
y-
it's becoming?
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
now
think
now it's pretty much almost there.
mm-hmm.
So now I could add everything else because I think this is cooked for another 5 minutes or so.
Sure. Okay. So
So
now
I'll add this. I'll
you
add the
added the
spices and
with the ghee and the cauliflower and the vegetables are all in there.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, I'll add the tamarind to taste. So
Sure.
maybe one or two.
Yeah. You don't want to overdo it with that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. It's going to add a little bit of sourness
Mm-hmm.
and sweetness. That's
And
pretty much there.
would lemon be a alternative to tamarind, or it's
Yes,
just a
yes,
okay?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But you
Yep.
wouldn't have the
You can't
sweetness with the lemon, so
with the tam. Right, right. The tamarind is sweet too,
right.
and I could put the cilantro,
Mm-hmm.
and then some crunch,
Sure.
and also sweetness with the pistachios, and they've been lightly roasted in ghee.
Okay. So you roasted those in ghee stovetop.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Um,
look how beautiful! Look how beautiful!
that is beautiful. That is beautiful.
So
A couple,
one dish has all tastes.
yeah, it's and I know you use brown rice.
No, no, I
Br
didn't on this one. I
oh,
didn't.
you didn't
I
used white basmati?
white basmati cooks
Okay.
beautiful.
All
Yeah,
right,
I love it.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
A couple of things. You talked about you have the roasted pistachios and someone else said to me that they considered there to be a seventh taste, and that is the taste of crunch. It's not quite a taste, but it's a texture.
The
So
texture, yeah.
you also have a little crunch there as well with the
A little
pistachios.
crunch.
With the
Yeah, yeah,
pistachios. So
yeah. Gives it an additional bit of texture. Yeah,
that's really
nice.
beautiful. And
Also, the cauliflower has nice texture in the whole thing.
that's true, especially since it's roasted. It's going to have a little bite to it.
Right.
The other thing that I've people have shared with me is that when you're incorporating the six tastes in a meal, it's really helpful with cravings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Because you really feel satisfied,
Yeah,
You really feel
sure.
satisfied. Nothing
Yeah,
is nothing is missing.
that's wonderful. It's wonderful. Um, yeah, I would love to see that in a bowl before we conclude, if that's possible. When it's
Yeah,
done.
yeah, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me do it. Let me do it.
yeah, that'd
Oh,
be I'd love to see how beautiful it is.
how's that?
That's beautiful. That's really gorgeous. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
so
my lunch.
I was gonna say you lunch is bon appetit. That's a simple lunch. If I want to make a meal with that, I've got the dal, I've got the flatbread. Um, is there something else that I could add to it to, bring it, into a, let's say into a dinner meal, or this was going to be a
Yeah,
part of a restaurant menu.
yeah.
What else would you serve with that?
Maybe
You
a
have your,
nice string bean, maybe a nice string bean or okra curry,
okay, so vegetable
or
curry.
vegetable curry. I think it would go really nice if if you eat animal protein with like a salmon in a tomato curry sauce, in a tomato
Okay,
coconut sauce.
that'd
Tomato
be
coconut,
beautiful. Yeah, and
you know?
I like the contrast with colors as well there.
Yeah, 'cause that would be more red.
Yes.
Yeah. Or chicken in a tomato coconut curry. It would go
Okay.
nice with we go nice with um like an Indian style veggie burger,
Okay, yeah, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. And
right?
would you consider this kitchery to be tridoshic,
Yes.
meaning good for
Yes.
each of the doshas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a particular season that you would serve
No,
kitchery? It could year round.
this is year round.
Okay.
This is year round. Maybe you choose a different veggie in the summer instead of the cauliflower.
Sure, you might so you're incorporating more seasonal vegetables, which is important in
Yeah.
Ayurveda, seasonal
Yeah.
local. So
Yeah. So
cool.
like the Swiss chard and the cauliflower are more seasonal for the winter, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, I so appreciate you showing the viewers and listeners this wonderful, simple to prepare but well-balanced Ayurvedic lunch with a khichdi that's made with split mung dal and basmati rice, cauliflower and Swiss chard and spices and herbs, fresh herbs, pistachios, and also a beautiful flatbread as well that's with fennel incorporated in it. So
Mm-hmm.
I would love to thank you face to face. So maybe we could sit down at the screen for a moment, Rich, and
Yep.
yep.
Yep. Okay.
Well, that was awesome. That looks like a delicious lunch.
Thank you.
I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. Um,
But
I will include your information page on the ICE website um, in the show notes. Thank you so much, Rich. And
yeah.
that was a wonderful, well-balanced Ayurvedic simple lunch. Um,
But thank you very much, Noreen. I really appreciate
yeah, this was great.
it.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Chef Rich LaMarita, Ayurvedic cooking today at the Healthy Peaceful
It's good to see
Podcast.
you. It's good.
And likewise,